have been so many high-profile shakeups and announcements lately in the high fashion world. Like, for one, Donatella Versace announced she's stepping down as Versace's creative director and being replaced by Dario Vitale, who is the former design and image director of Miu Miu.
And there's a lot of rumors that Donatella was ousted and that this wasn't actually a mutual decision. So, under her contract, she can't design clothes for another company or use her family name for other brands that she might launch. And Versace's parent company is actually working to sell the brand to Prada. And reportedly, there is like a deal on the table.
And then Gucci announced its new artistic director will be Demna, who's only known by his first name, who is currently the creative director at Balenciaga. And he'll be the first non-Italian artistic director since American Tom Ford departed in 2004. Demna is from the country Georgia.
And this announcement was followed by Gucci's parent company's stocks plummeting 13%, or around $3 billion on Friday. There's this feeling that Demna, who's known for his more like avant-garde looks at Balenciaga, isn't the right fit to lead Gucci's more like timeless, elegant brand.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see. And then LVMH's CEO, Bernard Arnault, just announced his 29-year-old son will take over as the CEO of Loro Piana, which people are calling more evidence of this succession vibe going on at LVMH. Like, another son is the deputy CEO of Moet Hennessy. His daughter is the CEO of Christian Dior. Another son is LVMH's image and environmental director. And another son is a watch director at Louis Vuitton.
Yes, of course, nepotism is alive and well. And there has been this like fashion industry musical chairs going on. Like, everyone is kind of leaving their brands and switching around. So John Galliano left Maison Margiela, teasing that he might announce a new venture soon.
Well, Bottega Veneta's former creative director, Mathieu Blasi, will be helming Chanel. That's a good gig. And Michael Ryder, who was formerly at Polo Ralph Lauren, will be heading up Celine.
And then, of course, Paris Fashion Week just wrapped, and there was all of this buzz over the new heads, all of the fun, like, celebrity fashion, and these edgy, darker, tailored looks hitting the runway.
Well, to get the inside scoop from the front row, we spoke to the fashion journalist behind the digital brand Newsfash and Vogue Contributing Editor Moshe Lundstrom-Helbert.
So we saw all of the major headlines that were obviously coming out of Paris Fashion Week. So what would you say are some of the major fashion themes that you saw this year from all the shows?
One big theme that I just couldn't help but notice was this idea of designers really treating each runway show like it might be their last.
Last week were the shows for this coming autumn.
A lot of these designers know that like fall really is the make or break season for a lot of brands. It's really interesting how the fashion ecosystem and the economics of it work, where that the Q4 period for fashion brands, so that's like the end of the year, is where a lot of them make 80% of their sales. You're probably going to spend more on a pair of boots than a pair of sandals, right? A coat than a bikini. So as a result, you're really seeing this idea of like designers are wanting to give you their full blown head to toe vision and try to keep their jobs, because that's increasingly hard.
So with that said, and all these designers kind of trying to leave it all on the runway, which ones do you think were the most successful? Which ones were your favorite? And then which ones maybe were not your favorite?
Well, I have to say that I think the two big debuts that we saw this season were Sarah Burton for Givenchy, formerly of Alexander McQueen, and Hyder Ackerman made his debut at Tom Ford. And those were both incredibly strong debuts and very well received. And I think because they both put forth like a vision of clothes that felt forward looking, but incredibly wearable. I think Sarah Burton is one of the most important living fashion designers that we have right now. The most beautiful tailoring and dresses and coat dresses. Don't we love a coat dress? Like think about all the occasions in our lives as women where we have to do these like drive-bys, where we have to go into an event and, say our hellos and maybe network a little bit, and then we need to go to the next thing. And we're not taking off our coat, but we need something fabulous that makes an entrance and leaves a lasting impression. She really nailed that. And then Hyder Ackerman, it's really interesting because, he's also the creative director at Canada Goose right now. Like, can you think of anything more different?
Like they don't, the overlap is hard to see.
Like from parkas to Tom Ford suiting. He really has to show range. And I have to say, I interviewed Hyder Ackerman early in my career, and he was one of the most kindest, heartfelt designers that I've ever had the pleasure of speaking with.
Obviously, the celebrities are all popping up in Paris and New York in this season wearing like their best looks. Who stood out to you?
I mean, we've got to talk about Doechii. What a chameleon. She is amazing. I think that I haven't seen that done so well in a little while, where a lot of times, if I could speak candidly, musicians don't have great style and they don't have the ability to pull off fashion. Exhibit A, the Grammys every year. Uh, it's bad. And
So moving into some of the drama that's been unfolding over the past week. So if you could walk us through some of the developments, starting with Versace and Donatella's announcement last week.
what a legacy. It does make me a little bit sad because it is the end of an era. What I feel is her greatest contribution is her love of women and her ability to make them look and feel sensational on the red carpet time and time and time again. I mean, just you look at it, it's decades spanning memorable knockout looks. Obviously, there's the J-Lo plunging dresses, but then you have like Michelle Obama in chainmail, or you have all the Lady Gaga and Dua Lipa looks more recently. I think Donatella Versace is a living legend, and I hope that some of this transition was on her own terms. And so she's being succeeded by this Italian designer. I mean, he's Sicilian. The Versaces are Sicilian. There's some synergy there. Not very known outside of inner fashion circles, but he's the one that can really be credited with the extreme success that we've seen at Miu Miu lately. And Miu Miu really is like the arbiter of how young people want to dress right now, and is one of the few brands that is really killing it and seeing huge sales increases and growth.
There's so many new heads coming in. Are there any like themes that you think we'll start seeing in high fashion? We did a piece on how like the luxury market is tanking and has kind of been doing really poorly. So do you think we'll see like a price shift or like a demographic shift, especially with all these new people kind of taking the lead?
I think there's a real changing of the guard happening right now, and it's a complete HR overhaul, right? And these things do happen in waves, and it's a tsunami right now. There's no other way of putting it. At the same time, if you don't love and embrace and have a propensity for change, you really shouldn't be in the fashion industry. I think a lot of these brands were kind of resting on their laurels when it came to the whole sort of logo mania wave that has really died down. What I find really interesting and where I do a lot of my field reporting is in the luxury shopping districts of some of the major cities, be it Tokyo, or I was in London recently and I was on New Bond Street. And when I was walking around there, I mean, what I was seeing from a consumer standpoint, the affluent consumers were wearing head to toe Loro Piana. So this very like monochromatic, tonal, more casual, more subtle. 5 years ago, I would have seen a lot of Gucci tracksuits probably.
Your point about quiet luxury, we've reported on even the color of the year was chosen. We talked to Pantone because it's like a rich like brown because it's like a quiet luxury and that seems to be the trend right now.
Well, I'm really glad you brought up brown because this is something I've been feeling for a while now. I get these spidey senses sometimes about something that I'm like, I think we're going to see a lot of this. And you see it when you go to the fabric shows too. That really all starts at the fabric shows. Brown, so much brown, different shades of brown, moving away. Like I felt that Pantone kind of missed the mark actually with that mocha mousse, which felt a bit more of like that basic millennial Instagram beige to me. What I started to see a lot of, which we're seeing a ton of for spring, and then it just blew up everywhere on the runways for fall, is brown. But what I'm calling this is drab is fab because it's not just brown in isolation. It's brown mixed with other low contrast neutrals. So that's brown and black, no longer a taboo. Tons of brown and black. Go look at the recent Burberry show. I was there and I was like, this is exactly how I want to be dressing right now. And it's all brown and black and olive and like navy and oxblood together. It doesn't feel like neons or brights have any place in our wardrobe at the moment.
What do you think we can expect to see people wearing in the streets? And how do you think people can kind of copy what they see?
I do recommend this approach for a lot of women is like figure out your key silhouettes. Like what are the maybe 1 to 3 silhouettes that really make you feel amazing and empowered and not self-conscious in your body, and then buy into those. So like I love a cinched waist. So whenever I see like a coat or a dress or a jacket or a blazer that's going to give me a great like waistline, I love that. Also, so much of our time, right, is spent like on Zooms or in these digital spaces. So I think like details that are kind of from the waist up are great to invest in as well because they're face framing and they'll pop on camera.